Have you ever wondered about the deep-seated roots of the Gaza-Israel conflict? Tucked away in the eastern Mediterranean is a land that has been the epicenter of conflict for decades. This land, comprising Gaza and Israel, holds immense historical and religious significance. Gaza, a tiny strip of land along the Mediterranean Sea, and Israel, its larger neighbor, are steeped in a history that goes back millennia. This area is not just about land and boundaries, it's about faith, identity, and survival. Jerusalem, the city at the core of this conflict, is a sacred ground for three of the world's major religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. For Jews, it is the site of their ancient temple. For Christians, it's where Christ was crucified. And for Muslims, it's the place where Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim Jerusalem as their capital, making it a focal point of their national aspirations. This land, rich in history and fraught with tension, has witnessed numerous conflicts, protests, and wars. The echoes of ancient rivalries still reverberate through the narrow streets of Jerusalem and the open plains of Gaza. But how did this conflict begin? Let's delve into the annals of history to find out. The origins of the conflict can be traced back to the early 20th century, a time of significant tension between Arab and Jewish communities. The area we now know as Israel and Palestine was a melting pot of cultures, religions, and national aspirations, all vying for control of the same small piece of land. Take a step back in time, around 1,000 years before the Common Era. The city of Jerusalem was conquered by King David, marking the beginning of a royal dynasty and establishing Jerusalem as the spiritual and political heart of the Jewish people. Fast forward to the reign of Herod the Great, when Jerusalem was rebuilt, including the Second Temple, a symbol of Jewish identity, which stood until the Roman siege of Jerusalem in the 1st century CE. The story doesn't end there. The Crusades, a series of religious wars in the medieval period, saw Jerusalem as a battleground between Christians and Muslims. The city changed hands multiple times, each shift leaving a new layer of complexity in the religious and cultural makeup of the region. Then in the early 20th century, we saw the British occupation during World War I. The British had promised to support the creation of a Jewish national home in Palestine, a pledge known as the Balfour Declaration. At the same time, they also promised to recognize the independence of the Arab lands, including Palestine. This dual promise set the stage for the Arab-Jewish tensions that would escalate in the decades to follow. However, it's essential to understand this conflict isn't just about land. It's about identity, religion, and a sense of home. It's about the city of Jerusalem, sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike, and claimed as a capital by both Israelis and Palestinians. And then, in 1948, the State of Israel was established, marking a significant turning point in the conflict. With the establishment of Israel in 1948, the conflict escalated dramatically. A new nation was born, but with it came a profound displacement of Palestinians from their homes. This mass exodus, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe, sowed the seeds of a bitter and lasting conflict. The year 1967 witnessed the Six-Day War, where Israel, in a swift preemptive attack, defeated Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. This war resulted in Israel's occupation of the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem, further inflaming tensions in the region. The occupied territories became a hotbed of resistance, leading to the outbreak of the First Intifada, or uprising, in 1987. Palestinians, armed with stones and Molotov cocktails, rose against the Israeli military, demanding an end to occupation. In the midst of this chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of the Oslo Accords in the early 90s. These agreements, brokered by the United States, aimed to establish a framework for Palestinian self-governance and peace. However, the accords fell short of addressing key, contentious issues, like the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the issue of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. The turn of the millennium saw the eruption of the Second Intifada. This uprising was more violent, marked by suicide bombings on one side and military incursions on the other. The violence eventually subsided, but left the peace process in tatters. The situation further deteriorated when Israel imposed a blockade on the Gaza Strip in 2007 following the political rise of Hamas, an organization labeled as a terrorist group by many international entities. This blockade, which is still in effect today, has led to widespread economic hardship and has been a significant factor in the continuing hostilities. Throughout these years of conflict, Jerusalem has always been at the center. A city sacred to Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike, its status remains one of the most contentious issues in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But the conflict did not end there. It continued to intensify, with Jerusalem at its core. In recent years, the conflict has seen some of the heaviest fighting in decades. Tensions have escalated, particularly around the holy city of Jerusalem, the core of the Israeli-Palestinian dispute. This escalation was notably seen during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan in 2021. Palestinians protested against Israeli police barriers in East Jerusalem, leading to violent clashes. The unrest further spread to the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, one of Islam's holiest sites and the holiest site in Judaism. These incidents sparked retaliatory rocket attacks from Hamas and other militant groups in Gaza, prompting Israel to respond with airstrikes. This cycle of violence has since intensified, with rocket attacks reaching as far as Tel Aviv and resulting in substantial unrest in mixed Arab-Jewish cities within Israel. The role of Hamas in this conflict is also worth discussing. They have used these escalations as opportunities to present themselves as the guardians of Palestinians in Jerusalem, effectively marginalizing Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. On the other side, the Israeli government has been firm in their response, conducting airstrikes and storming the Al-Aqsa Mosque on multiple instances. The numerous clashes at the Al-Aqsa Mosque have drawn condemnation from the Arab and Muslim world, calling for Israel to remove its forces. The Israeli military, however, maintains that these actions are necessary responses to the rocket fire from Gaza. These recent developments underscore the ongoing and deeply entrenched nature of the Gaza-Israel conflict. Both sides have significant historical and religious ties to the land, and this, coupled with political complexities, makes the path to peace challenging. As we've seen, the Gaza-Israel conflict is a complex, deeply rooted issue with no easy solutions. It is our hope that by understanding its history, we can pave the way for a peaceful future.